Friday night.
Friday night.
Five.
What's five?
It's season five. Yeah.
Oh, it is season five, man. That's crazy to think of. Yeah, so we're back at it. This is our second podcast this week,
Yep.
and we're getting back into things. It's a new year. People are starting to get their, get going training, which is super odd to think of. I've had some calls with some of the people I coach, and I'm like, we really didn't have an off season,
Yeah.
and today we're going to talk about 70.3 worlds, but when you really think about it, it extended the season way later for many people.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know about you, but most of the people I work with, and even myself, kind of end of October, unless maybe I'm doing Ironman Arizona, but other than and I know you've done Indian Wells, but those are kind of some exceptions. But for a lot of people, this was a long season.
Well, and that's the thing about our Southwest is our triathlon season is fairly long. I mean, really, you can start racing in March, April for sure. And they do go through December. And I've done Indian Wells several times.
It's true.
It's the first week in December, but with 70.3 Taupo New Zealand World Championship, that was the third week in December. And that little bit of a difference going a little deeper into December, that
Yeah.
makes a big difference because now you're hitting the holiday seasons as well. And, it's really, yeah, a mid to late December race really extends out the season quite a bit.
So for me and for the people that I coach, one of the things that we did was after St. George, we took a break.
Mm-hmm. That's smart.
Ones that were going to go to 70.3 worlds.
Yeah.
And we did that on purpose. We just did a week, but we did a week of, hey, nothing this week,
Mm-hmm.
with the thought this is a long year.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we did it. I kind of wish we would have done another week of
Mm-hmm.
just off, maybe September, because I think that for a lot of people, once again, it was a long season. Many of these people, they did Oceanside,
Mm-hmm.
St. George, maybe a race in the fall, and then 70.3 worlds. You're right that we are blessed and we're also cursed with this long season.
Well, and I think the other twist of going to New Zealand is that just about everybody who went they either went early and
Yep.
did, some things in New Zealand, or they stayed afterwards and did some things in New Zealand, 1 to 2 weeks on either side. And so you're adding a race, mid to late December, and now you've got, things you're doing, at the race site, which would be different than, going to doing a race in California in December or somewhere locally. It just adds a whole nother element on top of crossing the international date line, which just always blows my mind in terms of where we are, when we are.
Yeah, yeah. So that being said, let's have a little race recap from 70.3 worlds, because this is really our first time talking about this. Um, Overall impressions for you, John, of the race.
Yeah, well, going into the race, I knew I was going to have some problems, but I still went partly because it was New Zealand, and we had planned a trip to do some things outside the race. But it was also a situation where it was hard for me to qualify. I actually went through Arizona the year before. I got, I think I got fourth place there, and just missed out by seconds for a spot. Then I went to Indian Wells. I got fourth place there, did not get a spot. I went to Campeche. I got fourth there. I did not get a spot. And then I go to St. George. I'm pretty sure I got fourth there
You got
too.
a fourth. It was your Euro fourths. You
Arizona.
were on a roll of fourths last year. It's amazing.
And yeah, that's right. And it was so, I mean, I was, an age group podium on each one of those, and I didn't get a spot until St. George. And part of that was still, finishing on the podium, but then also there were, I don't even remember what spot I got, but there were more slots in St. George than any of the other races.
Yep.
And so it was a real challenge to even qualify for me. And so getting to the World Championship was, a lot of it was, hey, this is a celebration of really trying to get a spot, and I got a spot, and so that part was emotional when I got the spot, and so really happy to be in New Zealand for those reasons.
Yeah, I know. I completely understand that, and many people were in some similar boats, like really trying at many races and traveling all around to try and get spots. But honestly, like you, to me, that was an unbelievable run of bad luck. Good luck being on the age group podium that many times,
Yeah,
but bad luck as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you qualify for these races, thinking about Spain, but I mean sometimes it's just pure luck, right? Like you'd think that you'd finish fourth that many times,
yeah.
you'd get a spot.
Right, right, right. It is. It all depends. Right. Well, and you don't know who's showing up,
But yeah,
based on position.
yeah,
And you don't know what's going to happen race day. There's a number of things. I mean, at Campeche, I had two flats and no, I had a flat and a penalty. And, it just how things worked out. And that was the race. I had a big cramp too. So
yeah,
I had a,
yeah. Yeah, there's a honestly, it's not a foregone conclusion that just because you want to go to the world championships that you get a spot. And I think that you really do need to cherish these things. And I think that you going and you racing, not in your best shape by any means, is part of that. It is a celebration of the actual qualification. Because to me, the qualification is harder than the world championship race,
yeah, right.
because once you're there, and it doesn't matter. The pressure at a world championship race is way less than the pressure of trying to qualify for one.
That's true. No, totally. Because when you're trying to qualify, you're on the start line thinking about it. During the race, you're thinking about it. What position are you in? How's this going? Am I pacing it correctly? But yeah, the world championship, at least for me at this time, it was, I knew I was just going to complete the race, not to compete.
Yeah, I agreed, and I think that we as triathletes in our community do need to really think about that and think about the difference between that race and the qualifying races. But one thing I wanted to add is an interesting conversation I was having with somebody about like how they did at 70.3 Worlds, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like it was an hour behind the winners
Mhm.
in my age group, and I thought I raced pretty well and was an hour behind it." And so I started looking at some of the people that were winning.
Okay.
There's a lot of like Olympic medalists in maybe other sports,
Right.
right? Former professional athletes in other sports, or even in triathlete, that are the ones that are on the podiums at these races.
Yeah.
And it's pretty exceptional to think about. Like you get a race with somebody that maybe has won 4 or 5 Olympic medals.
Hmm.
You probably don't know them even, you know who they are, but if you start looking at the top 5 in these age groups and who these people actually are, it's pretty impressive to see. And I don't think you beat yourself up too much by
Right.
right by getting even beaten by an hour by somebody that is that or was that elite of an athlete, maybe even 20 years ago. Yeah,
Well,
I think that's cool.
it's a world championship,
Yeah,
and you're right. We're racing age group, and really at the ages that we're at, we're starting to run into like you said, ex Olympians, ex pro triathletes,
yeah.
and what have you. So yeah, it is. It's competitive.
It's super competitive, and you know and I think that you and I, we've talked a lot about this in the past, but it's the maturity of the athlete to understand that just once again on that day, just do the best you can do
Yeah, right.
based off of your fitness and your training and whatever. Like execute the best that you can
Mhm.
and go away feeling satisfied and not worry that you finished 50th or 100th
Mhm.
or 200th. Did
Mhm.
you have a good day? Did you enjoy it? Was it fulfilling for you? I think that that's something really kind of special about 70.3 Worlds.
Mhm.
Once again, because you're not trying to get a spot.
Right.
Yeah. So those
It's
are some thoughts.
for the next year.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, so then back to the race and just your thoughts on the race itself, John, and or actually maybe the whole week as far as the race week.
So I love New Zealand, and this is our second time there. And Taupo is a wonderful area, and we got there, and we had a spot that was about 2 miles from the finish area where all the action is. And on one hand, that was nice because we'd been there before, so we sort of knew the lay of the land. I wasn't too worried about the course logistics at all. I had, the last time we came here, we raced the full, and some of the bike course is at least in the same direction as the full. So I had a sense of what to expect. I wasn't planning to drive the course. I ended up driving it. I was glad I did, but I was really comfortable with being in the area. The funny thing is about being 2 miles out, and Laura and I have talked about this quite a bit, is if we're 2 miles out, we might as well be 10 miles out, because we still have to drive back in, find some parking, that whole deal. The fortunate thing was parking was easy to find.
It was
really amazing. What's that?
It was really easy.
Yeah, and all free too. There was no payment of parking, and so we had no problem finding a spot to park each time we went down. So that was good. But again, we're driving in each time, which is just a little bit of a hassle. So if we can stay near the finish line, we always do try to do that. But in this case, we couldn't get a spot down that way. I love Taupo, just the climate, the people. The city is small enough that you don't get a big congestion of an area, but there's enough things to do that you can keep yourself busy, and a lot of the sites may be outdoorsy, fun sites, but even some stores and shops and places to eat, lots of different things to do.
I loved it as well. The only thing I didn't like was it was really hard to find somewhere to ride your bicycle.
Oh yeah, no,
Like very difficult.
yeah. It was, well, like I said, I drove the course, and people were trying to ride the course, and it was dangerous. I would not have ridden it myself. I didn't ride it ahead of time because a lot of the roads have no shoulder. And although the people do seem to be tolerant of it, you're still getting, cars going in both directions, and you have no shoulder.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah. It is, especially in that area. In the South Island, I found some places where I could ride. But when we were around that area, it was really a challenge to find anywhere to ride. But I mean, that's a minor thing, because I didn't really need to ride that much. Before I didn't ride the course. I didn't even drive the course.
Okay.
I know we talk all the time about previewing courses, but I honestly, because once again, my mentality was similar to yours, that I was just trying to have a good day. And I was like, well, this is all, one of the cool things about riding your bicycle somewhere strange is like seeing something brand new. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be an opportunity for me just to ride this course. And I actually had not ridden the course, and I didn't even, normally I would at least preview the run by riding it. I didn't even do that.
Yeah. Right.
I went in cold, and it was actually, to me, it was kind of fun, because once again, I didn't really care how fast I went or how slow I went. And so yeah, it was kind of fun. But I'd heard there were some run-ins with some people, or some close calls with some people out on the highway and riding the course. Just some comments I heard from people that tried to, that it was very scary. And they told us, in the briefings and not to ride the course. But there was not, like I said, there wasn't very many other options that were good.
Riding the course. I think they eventually shut it down, or at least the group I was with, Endurance Travel, they said, we're not taking you out anymore because it's too dangerous.
Yeah. And I mean, I know you traveled around other places. Did you see any other like really good places?
Travel wise, to see,
to ride your bike.
Oh no, I didn't ride I didn't even take my bike.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we didn't even use a rental bike. We didn't even do the e-bike in the city.
Oh, you didn't?
Oh no, that looked like fun, but we didn't do it.
I actually found some other, like, some decent spots to ride. There's some decent infrastructure of like bike paths, and a lot of them are gravel, and I had gravel wheels. I brought my road bike with gravel wheels, and so there was some opportunity for me to do some decent riding. Okay, let's talk about the race then itself, and swim, bike, run. Once again, I'd like to hear your thoughts on each of those, if you don't, if you want to share.
The course was laid out well. Went to T1 to set up. early, and then I just walked down to the swim start, which was what, almost a kilometer. Uh,
Yeah, about a kilometer from the transition area.
yeah,
It was
and
a nice morning.
it was, it wasn't cold, it wasn't hot, but it was comfortable. And
Yep.
so just went down to the swim start, mostly just hung out because the way they were doing the swim start, everybody was really spread out over some time. So there's a lot of, find a good spot to hang out, relax, and, just uh, prepare yourself for the race. And, it was neat going in knowing that I was just going to complete. There were absolutely zero nerves. There was nothing I was anxious about. There was nothing that really I was even thinking about in terms of the race. I was just like, this is just going to be a day, just go ahead and do. And so really, I found a spot in the grass to hang out, watching people, said hi to people that I knew, and just waited for the swim corral to call, to get close to mine. Went down, got lined up. It was easy to get into the swim corral.
I want to just break in right here because I don't know why every race can't do something similar to this.
Yeah, yeah.
Like literally, you didn't have to line up till 10 minutes before your swim time,
Oh,
and and in that 10 minutes of lining up, I was really hot. In your wetsuit and the direct sun on you. I can't imagine standing for 40 minutes or 50 minutes because so many races you just have to line up and they push you in and
yeah.
you're standing there forever. The
Oh,
way they had this set up was just unbelievable. The logistics of doing this and being in the shade, and then 10 minutes later I'm standing, and then I'm in the water. It was I've never had a big race that has been as good as that.
no, no, you're right, because a lot of times you're sort of fighting to get into the lineup, and just you're there early, and yeah, it's no fun. But
At
this,
St. George 70.3 Worlds, they put us into the chutes
mhm.
45 minutes before our time started.
Wow, wow.
You're standing there,
Mhm. Yeah,
everyone's nervous, everyone's peeing all over the ground, right? Like in their wetsuits,
yeah,
and everyone's nervous. And it's not a comfortable feeling there's so many nerves, especially at the World Championship.
yeah.
And it's a long time to be standing
Mhm.
before you're gonna do that. So like, yes, like that was one of the major highlights. I've written down some of the highlights.
Yeah.
That was one of my major highlights, was the smoothness of getting in the water.
No, it was, and yeah, very little time standing in the corral, and moved up for the swim start. Swim start, just normal swim start. It was good, and um, just got into a nice groove, and water was perfect. I thought temperature,
Oh yeah.
um, and sighting was fairly easy because it's a point-to-point swim. So, really, there's very little navigation. It's mostly just go out to one buoy, turn left, and swim until, you get to the final buoy, and then swim back in. So that
Yeah.
part was pretty easy to sight. Uh, Number of people wise, I was probably about 5 or 6 deep in my wave. And once I broke through that first buoy, then there was a big gap. And that was the other thing they were doing. They had some good time gaps between the different wave starts, which was nice because then I broke into some nice clear water, and before I even caught the wave in front of me. So overall, it was just a real pleasant swim. And Taupo is a wonderful lake. You can see well, it's clear. I got out, I looked at my watch. I'm like, oh, okay, this was great. I think I was high 28 coming out of the water, and that was a good swim for me.
Yeah, the other thing I thought was really cool is, once again, I wasn't really going very fast. Uh, just the beauty of like, you're swimming and you're looking out and you can see that snow-capped mountain. I
Hmm.
kept like trying not to look.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I need to focus on the race, but I'm like, this is so pretty here, and it's just, and like you said, the lake was so clear. The water in your mouth tasted good.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, that swim was a big highlight. And we were fortunate, it was relatively flat by the time we started, because in the morning it was actually, there was early in the morning there was whitecaps
Yeah.
on the lake, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be kind of rough. But it seemed like right around the time that the race started, the wind basically died.
Yeah, I had a little bit of chop going along, but I think you guys were later. I think you were what, 45 minutes after I started, or
Yeah, I started 8:45,
yeah, it was 8:17, so half an hour.
half an hour.
Yeah,
Yep.
but yeah, it was good. And then running from the swim exit to T1.
That was tough. That was
Yeah,
a big climb.
yeah, trying to get up. For the full, you actually have, I think it was over a kilometer run to go from the swim exit, which was where our swim start was for the 7.3 to get to T1. It's just there's no easy way to get
Yep.
take up until to a flat area to jump on your bike.
Well, the one thing I'll tell you when I left the swim was all of the people that were there, like
Yeah.
at the swim exit,
Mhm.
and the fans of people, and it was electric.
Yeah.
It it really buoyed my spirits um, for that section. If I could like bottle the race in my
Yeah.
brain, like that was such another big highlight for me was just all the people, especially at the exit of the swim, which you don't always see, right? Because a lot of times the swim exit is kind of like
Mm-hmm.
hidden away a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, going over that bridge and down the bridge, and there were once again it was five deep of people cheering for their friends and cheering for me and everybody else, and that was pretty cool.
No, that was. And so I made my way into T1 and again, I'm going for the complete versus compete. I just took my time. I made sure I got sunscreen on, got everything all set. I was in no particular hurry. I don't even know what my transition time was, but got on the bike and started going. Navigating the transition area was super easy. Uh,
Yep.
no issues with that as well. Finding the bike was not as hard as I thought it was going to be. Fortunately, I was in a pretty good rack, so but yeah, that no issues with transition. How about you?
No, it was interesting too. Those were long rows. If you went down the wrong row,
Right, right.
they were long. The one thing I will tell you, and we'll maybe talk more about this, but I was not on my bike, and you were not on your bike either.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was weird getting out and not finding your bike.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Right? Like I know my bike. I can usually see it not miles away, but I was on a different bike, and that was a weird to see, right? You get there and like, oh, okay, this is a little different.
Yeah.
But I, like you, was very cautious, especially getting out on the bike. There's actually a friend did a video of me mounting. It was my slowest mount ever, but it was purposeful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I think I only did 3 outdoor bike rides since my crash
Mm-hmm.
till then. And I'm like, listen, like the last thing you need to do is get in trouble getting on your bike and have someone run into you. I went all the way over to the side, took my time, clipped in really very deliberately,
Mm-hmm.
and started out relatively slow, but on purpose.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
And
So
you're exactly right. And that's what I think I was partly worried about was not being able to find my bike because it's not my bike.
it's not your bike.
And so just for everyone, we both of us used someone else's bike on the race day. So, typically it's not too hard to find my red diamond bike. And this time I was worried. I think I had a green bottle cage on this bike. So I was just trying to look for the green bottle cage and kept focused on that because I can't read when I'm racing. So,
Yeah. The other thing about we haven't talked much of this, like about using somebody else's bike.
Mhm.
It's a weird feeling,
Yeah.
but it's totally doable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like we both had pretty decent bike splits for considering the fitness that both of us are in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I shouldn't go that fast on a bike that's not mine. And the bike I borrowed was too big for me. It was a size larger than my bike, and I shimmied the seat around and moved stuff around so I could use it. And I'm sure you were in the same situation. It's not fit for you.
Right.
But so people that get so meticulous, oh, it's got to be this millimeter, this and this and this. Honestly, on race day,
Yeah.
it probably doesn't matter. Now, yeah, training all of the time, yeah, you want to be consistent. But I think it was really remarkable that both of us. And by the way, you and I are the only people I know that did this, like that weren't on their own bikes for this race.
Well,
But
it is
it's possible.
yeah, riding a bike that you haven't ridden before because you're not used to the sounds. You're not
Yeah.
used to shifting. You're not used to all the little things that you get used to on your bike. And so yeah, it was just it was always just an awkward feeling, but at the same time, you're right. I had a decent bike. I had, you know, it wasn't a bad bike, wasn't a great bike, but it was definitely a decent bike. And doing it on a bike that wasn't mine, uh, I could feel it near the end that I wasn't fit well. And I was like,
Yes.
yeah, I'm a little bit more sore than I should be at the end of this. So,
In retrospect, had I really thought about it, I should have brought my saddle.
oh yeah, yeah, right, right.
You know, that was the one thing because I brought my pedals,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
um,
So,
but the saddle would have been so easy to bring. It weighs nothing.
oh,
I think I was about halfway through, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I would have just have my saddle,
right, right.
life would be so much better because like it was not the most comfortable. And for me also, I had not been an aero since my crash.
Yeah, yeah, right, right.
And so being an aero on a strange saddle, on a strange bike, I think if I had my own saddle, it would have been just a little bit more comfortable because I got like you about 2 hours in. I'm like, ooh, I am not,
Yeah,
I'm not, I'm moving around. I'm not comfortable.
yeah, I was ready to get off the bike.
Yeah, for sure. And not that we aren't almost always in a 70.3 ready to get off the bike, but it was a different kind of ready to get off the bike. Okay, so let's talk about the course, the bike course in particular. There was a lot of talk before the race about how bad the roads were going to be.
Hmm.
I didn't think they were that bad.
I didn't either. No, I did. People talk about the chip seal. I ride down to Lake Mead enough that our chip seal in Lake Mead is far deeper and rougher than what we were riding on there.
I never really felt any danger on the road as far as like there was a few cracks and potholes, but very minimal. Um, yeah, I think people were overselling how bad those roads really were. I mean, if you think about that compared to Oceanside,
Mhm.
that's way better than Oceanside's roads.
Or
You know,
people have done. And
Vineman, yeah, well, Vineman may be the worst roads I've ever ridden in my life.
yeah,
So yeah, I thought the roads were good. I love the fact that it was hilly in the beginning
hmm
of the bike because I really felt it separated things out quite nicely. I don't
hmm
know about you, but I didn't really feel like there was a lot of pack riding going on.
No, I didn't see packs so much. Little groups here. Two, three riders, maybe four. Uh,
Yeah,
but yeah, not a big pack. Near the end, I was getting caught by the wave behind me, and there were some people that were clearly trying to catch a draft. Uh,
yeah.
the faster riders came through, but then a lot of times they couldn't stick with them even with the draft. So
There were some people that went by me. Well, right behind me was the 18 to 24-year-old age group.
okay.
And man, there are some guys going so fast.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like serious. Because a lot of those guys that the top level of those guys, they're almost pros, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're pushing 350 watts. But man, I don't ever remember being like I know I wasn't going very fast, but I don't ever remember being passed like that many times that consistently.
Mm.
But which is also fun.
Yeah, yeah, right, right.
The other thing I thought was interesting on the bike course, there was a lot of marshals. And I really, personally, I like it. I think it helps. There was very little blocking, and I think that they were the marshals were on the blocking. I saw that when I went by the penalty tents, I saw people in the penalty tents.
Yep, I did too.
But I think I probably had, I'm going to say 5 or 6 times a marshal come by me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll also commend the marshals for not giving me a penalty when they should have.
Mm-hmm.
Like legally, it was the last climb. So I'm about mile 50, 52, everything compressed because you got this climb, everyone's kind of tired and everything just kind of compressed. And I was sitting up, going up a hill,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't have the power to pass 20 people,
Right.
but I also didn't want to not pedal on the hill.
Yeah, yeah, right.
And the referee came up to me and he's like, "Hey, 6 bike lengths." And I was like, I looked over, I'm like, "Oh no, I got a penalty." And I asked him, I'm like, "Did I get a penalty? Like a penalty?" And he drove away.
Ah, nice.
And I'm like, he didn't show me a card,
Right,
and I was watching him the entire time.
mhm.
So, but like, I love the fact that it was situational, right? Like he could tell that I wasn't like I'm sitting up, I'm on a hill, and my only other penalty I've ever got was in this situation very similar to that.
Mhm.
And I was like, man, like referees need to understand situations.
Mhm.
And when someone's not, I'm not wheel sucking, I'm not, you know, I'm legitimately just, I can't pass these people at this point of the race. And I'm not going to not pedal up a hill.
To drop back either. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so it was really, I love the refereeing. I thought it was really good. And if I would have got a penalty, I'd have been okay with it, to be completely honest with you. I'd have been okay with it on that day.
Mhm.
But I did like that because I've been to some world championships before where there was draft packs of 30, 40 people. I can remember at Mount Tremblant in 2014 being in a pack of 50 people.
Oh,
And I would work my way to the front
yeah.
on a climb, and then we did a downhill, and the whole pack would pass me, and I'd be shot out the back over and over again, and
Mhm.
not a referee to be seen. And
Mhm.
so I think maybe the way they're doing things in New Zealand is is good. I mean, that's all that's going to say because it's a big course, a lot of people to be able to have that many marshals was really good.
Yeah, I thought the whole race was ran well, and you're right. I saw a number of marshals um, and people in the penalty tent. I hate seeing the marshals and then no one in a penalty tent because
Yep.
always someone drafting. So
Yep.
good that they kept some.
Yeah, and I think that there's like yeah, there if you got 4,000 people racing,
Yeah, yeah, right.
there's going to be some people that need a penalty.
Hmm.
And once again, like there's times the wrong situation, like I said, like I legally should have got a penalty.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I would have been okay. Like, I guess I would have been okay if I would have got one.
Yeah,
I still complained about it, but I you're right. There's always the opportunity.
yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about the profile of the course with the hills and the flats and the wind and that?
I like the course. There were some sections that were, that you had to really ride a little bit harder to get over the hills, but they'd also had some nice flat sections. And overall, I thought that the course was a good, honest course and did help to spread people out, especially that first part, that first half, really.
How different was the course than when you did the full Ironman?
Full Ironman was more just on the highway out and back, more so
Okay.
back area that we did. Um,
Well, the second half, that highway, not the first.
yeah, the second, that's right, that's right.
Okay.
So, yeah, so it would, but boy, that back section, that first section that goes out on on the clockwise part of the loop from whatever, 7 o'clock to noon, that was so beautiful. I mean, it was
Oh man, it was really beautiful.
picturesque and, uh, just really a neat ride to be able to be distracted by the beauty of the land.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, T2.
Yeah, so I came in actually right when I was coming in, someone crashed right, probably about 50 yards in front of me. I don't know what happened, but I saw him go down and I was the next rider up on him. So I stopped, but a volunteer was right up on the athlete. He was out. It looked like he was unconscious and, you're
Oh
just,
wow.
it was terrible. But the volunteer had it, so I kept going. I saw some posts on Facebook later on. They were
Was
trying to.
it at the roundabout?
No, no, it was right before the dismount line.
Oh, like within sight of the dismount line.
He was getting off his bike, and something happened, and he went down hard and hit his head. And I think his day was pretty much done at that point.
It was a very speedy descent into that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Like we race at Lake Mead, right, where we have these speedy descents into. But if you had an issue, you were
Yeah,
going pretty fast, right? And like I didn't do a flying dismount because once again I wasn't in that mindset. But I think a flying dismount at that speed would have been
yeah.
could be catastrophic.
Well, and, we weren't the only people using borrowed bikes, and that was
True.
been on a borrowed bike and hit the brake a little harder than his bike would have responded, and all of a sudden you're going over the handlebars as you're trying to get off and
Yeah.
landing awkwardly. So it's always scary when that happens, but hopefully the effort was okay. So I get into T2 and again, just taking my time. I knew the run was going to be a walk going into it. I've been having problems with my knee and just not actually had not run at all probably since Santa Cruz and just a little after Santa Cruz. So I hadn't been running for months at that point. I've been doing a lot of water exercise just to try to have some hope that I could do something. But racked the bike, again, took my time, made sure I had sunscreen as best as possible, and then headed out on the run. I did try to run it first, and I think I made it about 1.25 miles. And then my knee said, that is far enough. So from there on, it was a walk. And, I did the best I could with trying to walk reasonably fast. I'm not a fast walker to begin with. And my speed walking technique, I just have not been able to learn how to speed walk elegantly nor fast. And so I look a little bit like Sasquatch when I'm doing my speed walk. But you talk about the crowds. The crowd coming out of T2 in that immediate area was outstanding. And it was really encouraging to see all these people. It was really exciting to be part of that. And, you saw the crowd going out to that first turnaround and then coming back. And it was just really, really neat to have that many people coming out and watching the race.
Yeah, that crowd, it probably made me run too fast, to be honest with you.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that first 1.25 miles, because that was down, a bunch of that was downhill.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's where the knee stopped, was that downhill section.
Yeah.
The turnaround. So
yeah. So anyways, can continue on, because I'm agreeing with you on the crowd. That was amazing.
No, so then it was just a matter of, I did want to finish, and I was worried that if I pushed the knee a little too hard, that I wouldn't be able to even walk. And so I was just trying to keep everything in control as best as possible, and just walk. And I went in with the mindset that I was going to enjoy the race, and I really had to focus on that, because it is hard when you get past the whole race. Everyone's passing you, but at the same time, I really spent some time thinking about it and knowing that I was just going to enjoy it, and I really wanted to enjoy it, and I did enjoy it. So it was great to encourage other people that I saw along the way. I was not afraid to stop and talk to people as I went along the course, and just really trying to enjoy the experience.
Yeah. And then what was it like crossing the finish line?
Oh, it was relief in some sense, but it was nice. And I did try to run the last 50 to 100 yards, and I didn't see the video, but I don't think it was really much of a run as much as it was a shuffle. But it was, it's victory. It's, crossing the finish line of a race that I probably shouldn't even have started, and knowing that I was not able to train going into the race, but still going and having the enjoyment of being there. And I think the other part that was fun for me was doing it with all our other Vegas folks. We saw a lot of the females came out, the women came out and supported us, and saw a lot of the men along the way, and that's enjoyable. When you see other people having a good time, it's hard not to have a good time as well. So it was nice to cross the finish line, and really I felt accomplished at that point to having done that.
My favorite photos of the whole trip are of us, and I'm saying everyone, the Vegas crew, hanging out in the shade afterwards.
Yeah.
It was so special to have so many people from Las Vegas at that race. And once again, thinking back to my first 70.3 Worlds, it was 3 people from Vegas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. And this was 16.
Yeah, that's right.
And to me, like, and I think they're all club members. I think.
just
It
one
may
of
not have
you know,
just about right. Um, and that was super special. Even on Saturday, I was stood out there and I watched the women race, and oh my gosh, I was just having the time of my life watching everybody. And at one point, there was four of the women were within 2 minutes of each other,
mhm,
all starting at different times,
yeah.
and that was just spectacular, and I was hanging out with some of the other guys and we were cheering them on. And next thing I know, I'm like, oh my gosh, I am getting so sunburned.
Uh-huh.
I was sunburned from the Saturday of watching.
Hmm.
Oh goodness, that was a mistake. But once again, I didn't really care too much about the race. Like I wouldn't have done that had I been like really gunning for the race. But that was really special. And I think you like me like understand like how the culture is being built in our city and in Las Vegas, and events like that make it even deeper. um I just I enjoyed the heck out of that. And I know even like at St. George we see this culture where there's a bunch of people from Las Vegas, but to me even in New Zealand it was even more.
Yeah.
um it was some camaraderie, and I got some deeper relationships with some people, and that was a
Totally.
big highlight for me.
Hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. And I was for the women's race, I was out because where we were staying, I was out near the almost the turnaround point for the run
Yeah.
on the way out. And it was fun going out there. And I was able to see them on two parts of the course, go down near the lake, take some pictures there, and then I'd run up, the shortcut up through the hotel to the road, and they'd have to run down and back and catch them twice. And so, it's encouraging cheering people on. I know that sounds odd, but it's
It is.
watching other people go through it or trying, and that suffering together is somehow better. And and everybody, uh, for the most part, had a smile on their face. They enjoyed the experience. It was a good group to be around.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a good experience.
Agreed. As far as the run itself, what did you think of the course? I mean, I know you didn't really run much, but what were your impressions?
I like the course. It's that section was used for the full as well.
Okay.
So, I was familiar with the full actually goes out. There were some other steeper sections on the run near the turnaround for the full, if I'm remembering correctly. But I like the run. Well, I was walking, so it wasn't.
You got to see a different perspective, though. You probably enjoyed it more than people that were going faster because the views were spectacular on the run.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like,
And I knew that going in, and that's why I knew even walking, it's like I'm just loving this. We're in New Zealand and getting it done.
yeah, the way I looked at it is I didn't. Fortunately for me, I didn't have to walk a lot of the course, but I was like, if I can do, I'll just tell you this: my average steps per day in New Zealand was about 25,000.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Right? Kind of on average is how active we were. And they'd been like, okay, I'm going to do 21,000 or whatever steps during this race, but I'm going to have an aid station every mile.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Great.
It's like it would have been a catered walk.
Yeah.
And, but man, I just couldn't get over the view.
Mhm.
Uh, Many of the sections of that run, there's something to be said about having something that is in your mind. It's just like you're seeing it and it's so beautiful.
Mhm.
It makes the run not as hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I don't know how, and I know we've talked about before, like smiling when you're having a hard time and the endorphins and dopamine that you get from that. But I think there's something about being in a really special place
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
also can give you something like that. And because I'll just be honest, people have asked me like, how did I do it? Like, how did I run the speed I ran? I have no idea
Mhm.
because I think I did 4 outdoor runs before then,
Mhm.
and everyone was miserable.
Mhm.
But it was Taupo, it was the lake and the mountains and the people and the experience that were driving me.
Mhm.
And yeah, like I honestly, like, personally, I'm never gonna forget this race. Like this is gonna be a highlight race for my life.
Yeah.
And part of it was how special that the whole place was, but the run in particular for me was just, yeah, mind blowing.
Well, and for you, and I know we talked a little bit about this before, but you weren't supposed to race at all, given that
No,
crash that you had. So, that how did your finish line feel?
it was weird. I I'm almost speechless thinking about it because I don't know how to describe
Mhm.
the feeling I had. Um, because I like 4 weeks before I wasn't going to be there,
Mhm.
and when I made the decision to do it, I really, I didn't like, I was nervous I wasn't going to be able to finish. Um, and to do it and to do it well.
Mhm.
And this is going to sound really weird, but, and I've told some other people this, I was almost embarrassed.
Mhm.
Like, almost embarrassed that I trained so little
Mhm.
and was able to do as good as I did. And then I was having this conversation with my wife, and I'm like, was I really as hurt as bad as? She's like, yeah, you really were. You broke 16. You had 16 fractures.
Right.
You had a hemothorax. Like you were on the couch for 8 weeks, and yeah, I think that this is like the like another big lesson, not just for me but for others is, um, and I was thinking about this as I was finishing, like all of the years I've trained
Mhm.
paid off.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking back even to when I was in like high school and doing orienteering and running, and my body just knew how to run.
Mhm.
And it was surreal because, John, honestly, if you had put a gun to my head, I would have thought it would have been a 220
Mhm.
half marathon.
Yeah.
And I did a 150. And like that shouldn't happen. Like my first ever half marathon, open half marathon, I think was a 150.
Wow. How about that?
Right. And I'm like, how is this possible?
Mhm.
And like, it's weird. It's a really weird feeling. Like I don't think I don't know. This is gonna sound so strange, but I don't know if I could go run a 150 half marathon tomorrow.
Right. 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 Yeah.
So I don't know how I did it. Like part of it honestly was the once again, like the place, and also like big kudos to the people cheering.
Yep.
I had four people that I coach that were four women that I coached that were out there, and they were in different spots.
Yeah.
And man, did that ever help too?
Yeah. Yeah. It did. It did. Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh! Like, I'm glad they weren't all together in the same spot,
Yeah. Right. Right.
but especially on the multi loop course because I knew where they were,
Mhm.
and I
Yep.
was seeing them on out and backs too.
Mhm.
And man, did that ever buoy my spirits?
Mhm.
And there's just, yeah, I don't know. Like I'm gonna be forever grateful for that once again for that whole day, for the people that were out there. Even like, seeing you out there was inspiring to me.
Mhm.
Um, as I came, I didn't really see you till, for some reason, I think we did a corner and then we're going up that hill, and I didn't really see you from too far out. And when I saw you, I think I only saw you once.
Yeah. Yeah. You came up behind
I
me.
came up behind you once, and
Oh,
I was like, "Whoa, John!" Like I didn't even know what to say to you. I think I said to you, "Oh, your shoes don't match," because like that's my move normally.
right.
And I was just like so happy to see you, and just and seeing like the other people from the club on the run, like racing as well. Yeah, it was, I don't know, spectacular. And then I don't know if you know this, but when I finished, your wife was there, and she was my handler.
Oh yeah.
You know, so they have a handler that takes
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
through.
I didn't know.
So Laura was there,
Mhm.
and she grabbed me. She's like, "I got him,"
Yeah.
and I was crying.
Oh.
And she know like because she knows me and she knows what I've been through. So to share that with a friend,
Mhm.
like in the most emotional time, like when you're sequestered away, like for people that haven't finished a race like this, you don't get to see your friends and family or anything for quite some time, to be honest with you. And to have me share that 5 minutes with her, like that was super, super special for me.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so a lot of good things. I will tell you also at the finish, something kind of funny. It was really, by the time we finished, John, like you finished just a little bit after me, it was hot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It was really, really hot.
Mhm.
And when I finished, another friend, he'd finished before me. He's like sitting in the sun, and I'm like, "Come on, man! Like, let's get in the shade." Like it was for people that don't know, being in New Zealand in the summer or in their summer, it is hot in the sun.
Yeah.
And lesson learned there, like don't hang out in the sun after after a race.
And that was the one mistake I made um, in the race. Even knowing how long I was going to be out there, I wore a visor, and I wish I wore a full hat or even a bucket hat. And
Yeah.
as I was going along, I'm seeing people running in bucket hats, and I'm like, oh, that is just perfect. So now I have a bucket hat to run in. So
Oh,
that's
good, good.
so I'm ready. I'm ready for the next one. So
The mistake I made, and I'll tell you this, as this is our second podcast, but since the race, but I shaved my mustache
yeah.
right before, like the day before I went to New Zealand. I was like, it was time. Well, I sunburned my lips.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well, if you think about it, I'd had that mustache for 4 years,
Hmm.
basically since we started the podcast. By the way,
No.
I'd had that mustache since then, and I wasn't really like I put sunscreen on my face
No.
coming out on the run and even getting onto the bike, but I didn't put like specific like on my lips. So for the next like 3 or 4 days, I really had a hard time. And there's a very special burger place in Queenstown, Fur Burger.
Yeah.
And man, I was eating this huge burger and I couldn't really enjoy it because my lips were so
Oh,
burnt.
bummer. Yeah.
So, but we went back 4 days later, three or 4 days later, and got another one. It was way better.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, the sun hits a little different there in New Zealand.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing I think that was super cool about New Zealand, and I was talking to somebody earlier today about this very thing, is like, well, when should I go? Like, when's the best time to go? We went during the best time.
Yeah, that really was.
During their summer,
Mhm.
it was perfect. The long days. Oh my gosh. I feel like we just got this bonus extra summer of long days and
Yeah.
yeah, spectacular.
Oh, it was a neat experience. So yeah, I would say all in all, the race was a great experience. I'm glad I did it. Uh, so much fun doing it with our Vegas crew, and we didn't even see everybody there. There were
Yeah.
people that we did not meet, but I did meet someone along the course that I did not know ahead of time, but we were Facebook friends, but we had never met in person. So
What?
it's good to do. So
That's super cool.
yeah, so it was yeah, there's a lot of wins all the way around.
Agreed. I got to be honest with you. I would strongly consider going back to do another race in New Zealand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Even if it wasn't a world championship, if I could figure out a way to get there for a 70.3 or the full, or even, I know that the Wanaka race is really popular, and
yeah. No, one
we
day.
made it through Wanaka, and wow, that was a breathtaking place as well.
Hmm.
I would absolutely consider going back to New Zealand again. I can tell why you wanted to go again.
It was not a bad trip in terms of getting there.
Yep.
Flight from LA was 12, 13 hours, but it wasn't bad. And even though we crossed the international date line, we were really only off by 3 hours.
Yeah, it was really, to me, it was easier than going to Europe.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
really was.
Mm.
And then I don't know about you, but on the way back, we got in an hour early. Like there was a jet stream or something, and
Yeah.
our flight back was less than, I think it was 11 hours
Mm.
coming back.
The earth was spinning faster at that
The
point.
Earth was spinning fast. Okay, I know we're getting a little long
Yeah.
in the tooth, and we were going to talk a little bit about 70.3 worlds, the next 70.3 worlds. Do you still want to do that, or you want to
Yeah,
table
why
that for next?
don't we hold to that to the next one? But
Yep.
how to find your way to Marbella for 70.3 2025. I think that's
Perfect.
a good
I love it.
topic to talk about.
All right. Well, hey, I hope you have a good long weekend.
Yep, you too.
For us, school starts next week, so gotta change our mindset a little bit.
That's right.
Get off of vacation mode and get back to work mode, but that's okay. And yeah, have a great weekend. And yeah,
You
that's
too.
it.
Again, another big congratulations to you for going to the race, doing the race, finishing the race. I mean, that was, your journey ending that year on that race was really a capstone.
You and I have a very similar story, so it's actually really fun to share this with you
Yeah.
and to share a very similar experience. And so the same to you. Honestly, like it was very inspirational to see you there, and honestly, it wouldn't have been the same without you. So,
Thanks. And it was fun. It was, the whole thing was really a good time. All
all
right.
right, everybody, nice to be back in the swing of things, and we're gonna do our very best to start posting regularly again. So,
All right. Talk soon.
okay, bye.